Thank you, all five of you, for coming. Normally it's a little bigger, but bigger isn't always better. We'll just say it's also quality, right? I'm sure you guys are super high quality. So I'm gonna just get started on our awesome LGBT travel panel right now, and I'm gonna get to these amazing folks here. But I wanted to say, first of all, thank you so much for coming. Thanks for Travel and Adventure and Unicom for inviting us. We really appreciate it. And thank you so much for spending a little bit of your quality time here with us. And we want this to be a win-win, and it's such a small, intimate group. So I think that, you know, if there's any moment you just want to get my attention, raise your hand. We'll stop and answer your questions at any point. Just make sure you know I can see you, and we'll do that happily. And we'll reserve a few minutes at the end for questions too. But it kind of flies by. There's a lot to cover. And imagine trying to cover straight travel in 45 minutes or whatever amount of time we have. It doesn't even make any sense. So, of course, we can continue the conversation after the panel. Also, we three here will be in booth number 107, which is exactly right at the very end of this row right here. And we can continue the discussion if you want to send friends. So the rest of the day, we'll be there until the end of the day. So we're going to cover destinations, events, family travel, a few other things, how to work with a tour operator, how to choose a good tour, a good cruise that might be of interest, and more. So some introductions. That's me. There I am. I'm the editor-in-chief of a magazine called Man About World, and I have free subscription cards for anybody who wants that. It's a digital mobile magazine, so it's only for your smartphone or your tablet. It's not online and not in print, but I have a free subscription offer at 107. And then I'm going to start with these awesome folks. You know, when you think about gay travel, there's a lot of pressure, actually, in a weird way nowadays. Because, you know, 15, 20 years ago, gay people, no one wanted to talk about gay people or what they were interested in. No one really wanted to care or think about it. Nowadays, gay people are considered super cool, right? So, you know, you have cool houses and you design them really well. You wear cool clothes. You know, all these kind of stereotypes, which are kind of true. But you're also considered savvy travelers. So now your friends are looking at your Facebook feeds to see where are they going, because that's where we want to go on vacation too. So that's a lot of pressure. But to help you navigate that sticky situation, we're going to have these experts talk about share some of their expertise with us. And so I'll start over here with Jody Cole, who owns and operates a company called Wild Rainbow African Safaris, which specializes in travel to southern and eastern Africa, and she's happy to talk with you later on. And then Zach Moses in the middle, who runs a company called HE Travel, which takes small groups all around the world. They're the leading land-based LGBT tour and cruise tour company. But they also do small individual trips, FIT trips, and they'll have mixed trips, all gay, all women, or men and women mixed together. And then we have the executive editor of the Dallas Voice, Arnold Wayne Jones, who told me he's been with The Voice for 15 years, I think.
15 years.
But has been writing about travel for a number of years and has won a bunch of awards. I won't even list them, there's too many to list. I'm very impressed, though. So anyway, just getting started with destinations. I pulled this from a friend's Facebook feed. I can't even pronounce that, Antananarivo. Which is, I had to look it up, it's the capital of Madagascar. So my friend is going there, and he's asking his friends, oh, so anybody have any recommendations? And a lot of his friends did. So this is like gay travel. So talk about pressure, right? I'd never even heard of it. So I want to ask these guys really quickly, kind of just each one, just talk about the destinations you've been to over the past year that really blew you away that you want to share with this small group here. So maybe since you have the mic, you can just pull the mic off.
Sure.
And just speak right into the mic and own it and tell us a couple places that have really blown you away this past year.
Well, I went back to, I haven't actually written the story yet, but I went back to New Mexico twice this year to check it out. New Mexico is a really interesting state because it's not Arizona. I mean, Arizona's great, but it's just a totally different vibe in New Mexico. The entire state is the 5th largest in the United States, landmass-wise, and the entire population is less than Dallas. So it's this incredible natural place. that has so much personality. There's good food, there's good settings. Santa Fe, of course, one of the most interesting cities, I think, in America. It's the oldest capital. It's over 400 years old. It was established more than 400 years ago. But even Albuquerque is kind of a fun little place to hang out, and especially manageable city. Then you can go to Taos and an area called the Enchanted Circle, which includes Angel Fire and Red River. There's just such a lot of natural beauty there. And the weather is very, very mild. You think it's going to be like scorchingly hot like Dallas is, or like Phoenix can be. But actually, Albuquerque has like 2 days over 100 every year, and everything else is pretty cool. There are gay bed and breakfasts, and it's a very welcoming state. Unlike, in this very politically divided time, it's nice to go to a very blue state that actively is interested in the market. One of the first reason the first time I went there was because a local resort was doing a wedding push, and they were interested in getting gay wedding events. They're not. Some places are like, oh yeah, we'll do a gay wedding, and they're like, bring your gay wedding here. That's always more interesting, I think.
Thank you. And relatively easy to get to, I assume, too.
Very good, yeah.
Zach, what blew you away this past year? He's always going to very interesting places, this guy.
One of my favorite things I went to this year, we just launched a new tour in the Galapagos, and it was land-based. And everybody who goes to the Galapagos tends to go via cruise ship, which is a nice experience and it's fun. But by going on land, there are these tiny little cities, and I mean tiny because the Galapagos is a national park. So these cities can only take up 3% of all the land of the Galapagos, and everything else is set aside for the animals and preservation. And only Galapagos people can actually own the land there. So there's no high-rise hotels. On the island of Isabela, which is one of the islands we stayed on, all the roads are sand. Like you're driving it feels like you're driving on the beach. Everybody walks, they ride their bicycles. The thing that I really liked about it was we could actually eat good meals. Normally you're on these cruise ships with kind of the fare that you can get out in the middle at the equator, in the middle of the ocean. Like everything has to come in by ship. But we were actually able to have like 5-star meals. We were able to stay in 5-star hotels. There's only 3 5-star hotels in the Galapagos Islands. One's on Santa Cruz, San Cristobal, and then Isabela.
So there must have been a boat involved at some point, unless there are bridges, right? Because it's all islands. Okay.
We flew between Isabela and San Cristobal in these little puddle jumper planes that are like 6 to 9 passengers, and then we took a boat between Santa Cruz and Isabela.
Right.
And Santa Cruz is like 20,000 people. Isabela only has 2,000 people on it, and then San Cristobal has maybe, I think 5,000 people on it. And that's it for the whole population, and it's spectacular.
Very nice. So we're going to turn to Jody, who I'm going to guess is going to go bring us to the continent of Africa. Favorite place?
Only slightly. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Off the coast of Africa, I had the sweet opportunity of going to the Seychelles. My sweetheart took me for Christmas and New Year to the Seychelles, and I'm not a beach person, really. I had a mind-blowing time, and I cannot wait to go back. The single thing that shocked me was how clear the water is. And so some of you who may be beachgoers or snorkelers or even divers may know, well, there's hundreds of places on the planet that still have clear water. Well, I don't know that. Anyway, I'm out in the ocean, off the beach, swimming with my eyes open. I mean, that's how clean the water is, and the salt it didn't even occur to me that I was swimming in salt water. It was just stunning, and the islands are very small, and we were able to just walk everywhere. We had great food, seafood all the time.
And was it you were a couple, 2 women, so was it friendly, gay friendly, I'll say,
Completely. They knew, and in fact, one of the people who worked at the place, don't ask me the name of it, and I should have done my homework, but Eva planned the whole thing. And just quickly, because I know we have other things to talk about, this year I did a US-based thing, and we went down to Clearwater in Florida, and we swam with the manatees. just last month.
Wow. All
It
right.
blew me away. They're the cutest little okay, they're not little, but scrumptious animals. I don't know if you've ever had a chance to swim with a manatee, but I recommend swimming with a manatee and having one kiss you.
And that was in St. Pete Clearwater, you said?
Yes, St. Pete Clearwater. It
okay.
was, I'm in love.
I'll just throw in my destination that I went to last year that was awesome. I put it up there on the screen. That's most of those pictures are from Israel. And I didn't know what to expect, and Tel Aviv is super, super gay friendly and really sophisticated and modern, and Jerusalem was so beautiful and just a gorgeous place. So I really loved Israel. I thought it was just terrific. So, go ahead. Yes.
A little bird, a very handsome bird, just told me that and reminded me that the IGLTA convention will be there next month. IGLTA is the International Gay and Lesbian Travel Association Global Convention, will be in St. Pete first weekend of May?
May 4th through the 6th.
Yes. So consumers can come as well as industry people can come to this convention, and I can tell you, if it's a gay convention, it's a fun convention.
Yeah, it'll be a fun convention. So speaking of fun, every year gay popular destinations like West Hollywood, Palm Springs, and maybe New Orleans because that's sort of close, oftentimes they have something more to give, a reason to go back. Anybody want to touch on any of the gay popular destinations? Maybe Arnold, I don't know if you've... Gay popular destinations like New Orleans, Palm Springs, anything new and interesting worth them putting on their travel list this year?
Well, I'll tell you here in Dallas, among the people that I'm familiar with, New Orleans, Las Vegas are extremely popular destinations for that. Some people like to go to San Francisco. We have a direct flight on Virgin, which started about a year and a half ago.
Soon to be Alaska.
Pardon me?
Soon to be Alaska Air.
You know, they haven't changed the name yet, so it would be strange flying from Texas to San Francisco on Alaska Air, but I think one of the great things about various destinations in Dallas is we have two major airlines based here, including Southwest, which is just really easy to take almost any place. And so anything that's popular, another popular spot is like a Puerto Vallarta. You know, I know a lot of people who like to go down there. Yep. It's really convenient to be, I think, in Dallas in terms of finding your destination because it's so centrally located. It's easy to get to the Caribbean, easy to get to Mexico, and then both coasts. So I haven't been to New Orleans. I used to go there about once a year. I haven't been in a couple of years now, but it's still just tremendously fun place to go and very popular, I think, with gay travelers.
So now, just like a kind of last little bit of destination stuff, any place you're just dying to go this year, one cool, hip, amazing place you put on your list for this year to go to, your dream trip this year?
My dream trip, I think, would be to go to Istanbul. I have a friend who says that New Year's there is beautiful. The city is surprisingly welcoming, you know, if you're not making out on television. And but yeah, I would love to go to Istanbul. I've never been there.
Great. Zach always has an interesting place he wants to go.
And
usually fulfills those wishes too.
Well, yeah. Well, I just moved back to Salt Lake City, Utah, which is where I grew up. And I grew up Mormon, and nobody really cared about the environment when I was a kid there. And so I didn't really get out. I didn't start discovering the world until I had moved to Florida. And so now that I'm back in Salt Lake, I'm wanting to drive all around that Intermountain Western region, maybe go down and see the Wave down in southern Utah. And
what's the Wave?
Okay, so down southern Utah, you got, is it New Mexico or Arizona on the border? I don't remember. Anyway, it's Colorado. So it's right in southern Utah. You've got all this sandstone. I don't know the geography there very well. So there's all this sandstone everywhere down there, and it looks like Mars. And in some places, it's multicolored sandstone. So the Wave is this area where water and wind have eroded this wave pattern through all of the stones, and it looks like frozen ocean waves. And I've only seen pictures. I've never seen this in person. But it's like reds, magentas, like yellows and browns, and all these different stripes of colors that...
We'll get into this later, but does your group, could you lead a group there with HE Travel, or is this more independent?
Yeah, so we would go and maybe stay in Moab, and then that's where Arches National Park, Canyonlands is out there. And I mean, just the geology of it is something that you can't believe.
Sure. Jody, where are you itching to go this year?
I live in one of the itches, and then the other itch is actually on my continent of choice, and that is Africa. I really want to go to the Great Zimbabwe, which is in Zimbabwe, and what Zimbabwe is named after. It's a fantastically built walled city, ancient. They really can't even carbon date it, though they have. Don't ask me. I'll get back to you next year. But I met some fantastic women from Zimbabwe here representing the country, and they reminded me. And so I'm going to go see the Great Zimbabwe this year. I've just moved to Asheville, North Carolina. For those of you who are beer drinkers, it is known as Beer City, USA. Biltmore Estate is there, but the thing that draws me, I'm a nature girl, and that is the mountains and the beautiful parklands in Asheville, North Carolina, and very gay friendly.
All right. Very nice. We're going to just skip to events, and up here on the screen there's I took this picture last year when I was in Taiwan. They're at Taiwan Pride rather, in Taiwan. It's the biggest gay pride in Asia. It attracts about 300,000 people. So it's huge. So I just thought, and they're on the verge of legalizing same-sex marriage, so I think that if that does happen, then their pride probably will be even more fun and bigger that year. So maybe if we can if each one of you maybe has an LGBT or LGBT-friendly event that you've either been to or really want to go to, it's something that you would recommend to folks here. Anyone want to start?
Well, since I have the wand, as it were, I will go for it. Not that kind of wand. Anyway, I am so committed to you and your travel that I am missing the Dinah this weekend in Palm Springs. I want you to know the biggest lesbian event of the world is in Palm Springs this weekend.
You've been there before?
Yes.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. And
that you remember.
And I remember, thank goodness. But there's also Aqua Girl here in Africa. My God. I'm in Florida.
Miami.
Here, I'm in Texas this weekend. Oh my Lord. But my country that I take people to or continent is Africa, and in South Africa there are many LGBT events, many prides. There's Johannesburg Pride. There's Cape Town Pride. Durban hosts quite a few LGBT pride-like, and there's also the Pink Louri Parade, which is a pretty
Say that
extraordinary.
again?
The Pink Louri, Lourie. It's a bird. There's not a pink one, but if you're gay, there's a pink one. Anyway, so South Africa is chock full of
Take two.
I'm going to chock full of gay activities. So I'm, of course, happy to help you get there. But just if you do LGBT South Africa, boom, there's so much going on there.
Good stuff. Zach.
Okay, so Gay Pride, Salt Lake City.
Oh, yes.
Like, I know that sounds weird. Like, why would I suggest Gay Pride in Salt Lake City? But I literally, moved there in June, and Gay Pride was the week I arrived. And I just popped in.
They were just celebrating your arrival.
Yeah, and that's what I figured. There was also drought out there, and as soon as I moved in, it's been snowing and raining. It's really been amazing. No, but yeah, it's God's wrath. So anyway, I show up at Pride, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, what's with all? There's everybody. There's grandmas and grandpas and kids, and there's lots of obviously gay people, and then lots of people where you're like, are you gay? I don't know. But everybody's wearing rainbows, and then you'll see all these little kids in rainbow clothing, and you're like, oh, cool, there's gay parents. Then you see their parents, and you're like, no, you're straight parents. What? Why are you at Pride? What's going on? And I started asking people about it, and it's sort of, to them in Utah, Gay Pride is for anybody who's standing up to the man. It doesn't have to do just with homosexuality. It's no, you're trying to oppress me, and I have Gay Pride. And it was wow, and it was just so integrated. That's and so awesome. Much. So now we have a booth there for this year, and we're
fantastic.
Oh, we're totally advertising here.
That's great.
So yeah, check it out.
That's good stuff.
There are lots of tax protesters, you're saying, marching in the Great Pride Parade. That'd be awesome. I actually talked to a porn star one time who does personal appearances, and I asked him where he had been, and he said, I just got back from Salt Lake City, and I said, oh, that must have been kind of a I don't want to say boring, but whatever word I use. He says, oh no, it's the largest crowd I've ever seen. Everyone was so enthusiastic. It's Good to know. The Salt Lake gays turn out.
Any other events that you are planning on going to? Or?
You know, one that I'm very looking forward to is, as everyone in Dallas knows, Dallas Pride is actually in September. It's not in June because it's so hot. And other places in Texas do them in June, but they do them in the evenings. So, but Pride in Dallas this year is again in September, and so is Vancouver Pride. And I'm very interested in Vancouver. I have a trip scheduled there, and I'm really curious to see what their Pride is like because it's a really fabulous and beautiful city.
Now you do a lot of coverage, lifestyle coverage. Do you ever cover LGBT film festivals? Is that a good reason to travel?
You know, that was another thing I was actually just thinking about mentioning. I can't remember where all the various film festivals are at any given time.
All over the place.
But because there's so many, but it's great that there's so many. There's Outfest in Los Angeles, the Miami Gay Film Festival, Fort Lauderdale I think has one.
It does.
Dallas has one that it kind of has hopped around a little bit. I think it's in August now. It's actually Fort Worth. It's not Dallas. But there's so many interesting film festivals around. And what's really interesting is right now the Dallas International Film Festival is going on. And they have specifically LGBT programming. And I love movies and I love film festivals. So that's always, in fact, it wasn't a gay film festival, but I went to the Maui Film Festival last year in Maui. Their film festival starts at like 8 p.m. because they do it outdoors and they broadcast it on a gigantic screen on a golf course.
And Outfest in LA, they have incredible venues. A lot of them are outdoor venues where they screen these films. And you know, to travel all the way to destination to be in a dark theater is, you know, you might think it's not the thing you would do as a traveler, but it's a nice way to combine your love of film with discovering a new destination. And a lot of them, including the New York Film Festival, the Gay Film Festival, and Outfest, they usually feature films from local, like, directors from the city about the city. So you get a little sense of the destination while there. So
the USA Film Festival is starting later on this month.
Ah.
And one of the centerpiece screenings is going to be A Very Sordid Wedding.
Nice.
The Del Shores movie that's a sequel to Sordid Lives.
And where is that?
That'll be here in Dallas on the official start of the USA Film Festival is the 26th to the 30th,
Right.
but his movie will screen on the 21st and the 23rd.
Awesome. Now, sports are another reason a lot of people travel. I don't know if anybody wants to comment on, I know that the World Out Games are coming up in Miami at the end of May, and there's the gay games and different activities like that. Okay, we'll leave it at that. The Dinah is also for sporty lesbians, maybe. I pulled this off of the website for Curve magazine, which is a lesbian magazine. They talked about this women's film festival, popular with lesbians. And then there's food and wine is another reason a lot of people travel. So I found this really great event called Gay Wine. I can't remember what it's called now. Gay Wine event in Sonoma in July 14th through 16th this year. They do also a big gay wine train during their Pride in Sonoma. And this is a really fun wine event. Anybody else, food or wine? No? All right. LGBT family, I don't know if anybody here has kids. Oh, I think one of our guys has kids. But I know that last time we talked about LGBT family travel, he said, leave your kid at home. Pretty much. Right, all right. And I'll just mention a few of the resources that I'm familiar with. There's an organization called Our Family Vacations that leads LGBT family cruises, small groups on mainstream cruises. They also do land-based activities and vacations, and they're actually heading to Cuba this year. And they also co-run or have participated in a big family event in Provincetown every summer called Family Equality Council's Provincetown Family Weekend. And then there was one I read about recently that's called Gay Dad Family Trip to Israel with a company called Outstanding Travel that leads tours in groups inbound into Israel and to take them around the region there. Okay, that's pretty good. So we're going to get...
Let me just say one
yes,
thing.
please. Yes.
If I could just quickly do a plug for South Africa again, which I'll probably do a couple more times. But South Africa has done, in fact, a lot of African destinations, but in particular South Africa has done a lot of work to make travel to South Africa not only affordable, but also family friendly. And some lodges actually will welcome infants into their lodges. my thinking is that's a snack for a certain little something walking around outside your tent. But at the same time, they're going to be perfectly safe, so don't worry. But I just want you to know that a lot of people think that Africa could be affordably prohibitive and what have you, but it also in terms of bringing young people to Africa. South Africa is totally welcoming when it comes to families of gay or straight families and young children of all ages.
So I pulled this from the Instagram feed of your company, HE Travel, and then this was from Jody's from in her Instagram account. So let's talk about some of the gay men popular tour companies and cruises. So we have one up here, HE Travel, He Travel, and it's the biggest land-based tour company for gays and lesbians. There's also a whole bunch of them. Out Adventures, there's Zoom Vacations, there's a whole lot of land-based ones. But maybe just talk a little bit about how you work, what your group size is, just so folks can get an understanding of how it would be to work, go on a tour by a gay tour company.
Okay, so one of the things that sets us apart from many other travel companies is our group sizes. So our average group size is between 8 and 15 people. We have really low minimums, so most of our tours will depart with as few as 2 people because we don't want a reputation for canceling people's tours. In general, we try to have at least like 6 to 8 for a launch, so we'll really try hard to fill a tour. But another thing that makes it great is just the amount of attention that's given to you. Like the staff to traveler ratio is much higher on our tours than a lot of other people's tours. And then just our long history. We've been around since 1973. So in 45 years, we've managed to amass a massive amount of contacts around the world. So we also have a whole custom travel division. So even if one of our 50 or 60 departures a year to all 7 continents doesn't fit what you want, we actually have a whole team that can tailor make anything you want to. I had a guy who wanted mare's milk alcohol and to sleep in a yurt in Mongolia, which seemed really strange, but it took us about 2 weeks to put it together, and he said it was the best trip he'd ever taken.
So do you take people to only countries that are gay-friendly, or how do you make sure people are going to be safe, I guess, on your tour?
So every single hotel, all the vendors we use, the guides, they've all been personally vetted by somebody on our team. We go in and we actually will ask questions, sometimes trying to inflame a response from a potential vendor. See if we can get them cracking gay jokes and things like that. And then we go, okay, not this one.
Right.
It's amazing how when you get people comfortable and with a few drinks, how quickly you realize that you do not want to put your customers in their care.
Of course.
I, of course, don't run a travel company. I just travel much more or less individually. But an interesting thing is I often get invited to press trips at the locations which I wouldn't necessarily think would be especially interesting for gay travelers. And so I do kind of what you're saying. And I'm like, look, I'm only going to come to this place if I'm not going to go on a tour of, racism museums and such. And it's funny, part of the job is kind of like finding the gay, is what I say. Where's the gay here? Hook me up with the quality gays in town. And it's amazing how when you look, no matter how small the town is, you can always find a gay aspect to it.
Right.
And people are welcoming that. Sometimes it's not a gay bar, it's more like, this is a restaurant that's owned by a gay couple or a bed and breakfast or something like that. But you can usually kind of like, if you try hard, find...
Ask questions.
Yeah, ask questions and find that safe spot.
Quick follow-up question for you, Zach. If someone's traveling solo or in a couple, what do you tell someone who's traveling alone? Will they have to pay more? Will you get them a roommate? How does that all work on a scheduled departure group tour?
Yeah, so between 50 and 75% of our travelers are traveling solo. That doesn't mean they're single in real life. It also doesn't mean that they're necessarily looking to meet anybody on the tour. A lot of people, we do everything from adventure to culture. So we'll get a lot of people that are like cyclists, but their partner wouldn't get on a bike to save their life. And so they'll come and they'll join our tours. And they say, well, we don't want to pay a whole bunch. So we can either match them to a roommate, and they'll pay the same double occupancy price as anybody else, or we have really inexpensive single supplements. Our single supplement is usually 20 to 25% more, because the only thing we're charging you for is the difference in cost to us for you using the hotel room by yourself. You don't have to pay extra for guides. On a cruise ship, they usually charge you 75% to 100% more because they're having to pay for that lost revenue because the ship is departing with an empty cabin.
All right, I think that's helpful. I'm going to pass it over to Jody. And well, before, I think there's only one lesbian company, really major lesbian company left, Olivia, right? Okay, so Olivia, there's no women here, but just if you have any lesbian friends, Olivia does cruises and land-based vacations. So, but Wild Rainbow welcomes everyone.
Yes, I do welcome everyone. I'm lesbian-owned, obviously, but, well, maybe you didn't know that. I'm a lesbian, just thought I'd let you know that. I take everyone. I do specialize in gay tours to Africa. I go to East and Southern Africa. And all of the companies and lodges that I go to have already been, just like what Zach was describing, I make sure that my guests are going to feel comfortable there. Sometimes, not just in Africa, but in other countries, I've experienced where, you go into reception and I tell them that, Sam and Joe are in room 207, and they look at me and kind of squeeze their forehead and go, "Oh, there's only one bed in there." And I'm like, "It's fine. It's fine. Don't change a thing. It's okay." And I do everything I can to guard my guests. Even after they know I'm coming and all of that, they still sometimes at reception get a little twisted. I'm like, I don't want them to see this happening at all. So I'm like, you guys go have a glass of champagne or whatever. But so all of my, South Africa, just as a footnote, is the only country on the continent of Africa that has written into its constitution protections for the LGBT community. When Nelson Mandela and de Klerk were working on the new constitution after his release, Mandela's release, he made sure that protections were put in there for our people. No other country in Africa has protections for LGBT people. In fact, it's quite illegal for us, if you're a local in particular, to be gay. But on the ground, the people on the ground are very welcoming. And in fact, I always ask my guests to please have regular interchanges with the guides that we're with, because it then opens them up to learning about our culture, because we do have one, and then they get to talk a little bit more about their own culture around the issue and about their personal lives, which is pretty extraordinary. So Africa is very gay friendly. I've been doing this for 14 years, almost 14 years, and I've so far, knock on wood, I haven't had an issue.
And how many, what's the group size? You say
thank
8
you.
is your sweet spot.
My average group size is 8, and I've taken as few as 1 or 2. In fact, I've got one going this summer that I'm only taking 2, and I've had as large as 20, which was super fun. I think most people that come to me in particular would prefer a smaller group size, especially with an African experience when we're having great sightings. The smaller the group, everyone gets to see the lion, or the mating lions in particular, yeah.
And could you do that in maybe one land vehicle, or is that
Yes,
two? Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
Depending on where we are. I usually try to split the group up, but we all ride together 4 to 4, so there's more room.
We're actually kind of winding down. We have about 10 more minutes left. Have you been on a gay cruise or no? Yeah. Okay, which one were you on? Because there's gay cruises are a thing, obviously. So Atlantis is the big vendor of LGBT. Cruises are really gay cruises, and they have their sister companies, RSVP. Atlantis might be considered a little bit more like slightly more party-oriented, and RSVP is a little bit more traditional, like travelers, tourist-type people on a ship. Some people love the idea of a big cruise, some people don't, and so there's all sorts of options. What have you been on?
Am I on? There
Yes.
we go. You said I wasn't thinking gay cruise. I was saying I've been on a cruise with a bunch of gay people. I haven't actually done the RSVB cruises.
So you're on a group of gay people on a straight cruise?
On just a regular straight cruise.
Were you guys welcome? Was it nice?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's the fun thing I think about kind of integrating those things is it's always great to go on a gay cruise like that. I have a friend who does them a lot, and he was on a cruise one time and told the organizer, he said, "You have vastly underestimated the amount of alcohol these people are going to consume."
That's for sure, right?
And they had to actually load up again, like in 2 days, with alcohol at the next port of call. But I think the interesting thing about the cruise is it becomes kind of this community. And it's great to have, an all-gay cruise. But I think there's a nice interaction that you get. I've been on several straight cruises where people are always very friendly and welcoming, and I think it's a nice thing.
Everyone wants to meet the gay. When you're on a straight cruise, all the straight people want to meet the gay people, and the women want to dance with the gay guys.
Absolutely
Their husbands won't dance with them. So there's other opportunities. I know HE Travel and Out Adventures does these smaller cruises, or maybe it's in Turkey. I know Out Adventures does small cruising in Turkey with like maybe 40 guys on very small ships going to the different Turkish islands. But I don't know if you know about that or if you have something similar.
Yeah, we do Antarctica, where we don't rent out the whole ship. The ship we use has 100 cabins, and we get like 20 cabins on it. And that's a ice-breaking research vessel that was converted to passenger use, and it allows you to actually set foot on the continent because there are restrictions for how many people can go in. So the little cruises allow you to go into smaller places, like in the Galapagos. We do have the land-based one, but we still have our cruise that we do there, and you're able to island hop and get in through smaller channels and things by being on those smaller ships. Even better, I think, are the river cruises, because you can do like a barge cruise with 14 people, but then just step right off the boat onto the land and have the full land experience, but then just move slowly, like 5 miles an hour.
And I put up on the screen a river cruise. It's actually, I think, a Uniworld cruise, but there's a company called Brand G Vacations that sells all gay river cruises. So I think that's sort of a little bit of a trend that I'm seeing, because as the gay guys who would go to Atlantis get sort of age out a little bit, maybe want to try different experiences, I think the river cruises are a very nice example. Uniworld itself has been marketing itself as gay friendly, and so that's nice. Anything else on river cruises? You're not a big cruise person, or you want to?
Well, I've been on a couple Livia cruises, which was interesting, but we'll move on along from there. I did do some homework. And last week we had a question about bear travel, and I just wanted to mention this, that there is a...
Of course I listen to you, see?
Oh my God. So bear travel, and there's bearcruise.com. And not being a bear myself or a Goldilocks, hey, I'm learning, that there's also, am I right? Did I do it right?
Are you a Goldilocks? Is that it?
I don't think
That's
I
kinda
am.
awesome.
I don't know. Am I a Goldilocks? I don't know. Bearguide.net and then adventurebears.com for all you bear people or lovers of bears. So bear travel actually is quite hot. And then there's Source Events, which also does cruises, but also Craig Smith, the owner of Source Events, does bear events. So I would contact him as well, and he's based in Fort Lauderdale.
In Miami.
Miami.
He's based in Miami. So thank you for that. She sent me that email this morning, and I sort of entitled this section like, "Is this too hot for me?" We've had this question almost every show we've done is like, I see all the ads. I don't know if I'll feel comfortable on that cruise or that experience. So what are some of the alternatives? So and they are not for everyone necessarily. Not every vacation is for everyone. So we want to talk a little bit about bear travel, which Jody just did. And then Jody also sent me some information on trans travel. So I don't know if there's any transgender audience members, but there's some interesting stuff going on. There's one called transgendervacations.com, based in UK, or based in Miami, but a UK company. And then I found this thing called Meetups. It's a social network online. It's huge, called Meetups. And you can actually take trips with this. Usually it's a travel agent who creates the meetup and then sells the tour to the meetup. So it's kind of a tip for our fledgling travel agents over here. And then we're at our last 5 minutes. If anybody has any questions, now's your time. I'll keep my eyes out if you raise your hands. Feel free to ask questions. Travel inspiration. Start with Arnold. When you want to get inspired for a trip, what are like one or two magazines or websites or apps or something that you go to that help you get inspired for a trip?
That's a really interesting question. It's almost different. It's almost like I like a trip to inspire me. That I don't like to get inspired to take a trip. I like to go on a trip and find the inspiration while I'm there. And from a writer's standpoint, I think that's very important, because you want to convey to people what the experience is like when you're there. And if you're already kind of pre-sold on it, it's always a little more difficult. But you can find the first time I went to Vegas, for example, I did a story and I broke it down into things, ways you could save money, ways you could do an average kind of thing, and ways you could spend a lot of money. And I called it like penny ante, nickel slots, and high rollers, or something like that. But I think that that's a different way to consume a location. You have to be thinking about, well, do I want to spend a lot of money and just be in the lap of luxury, or do I want to kind of do things less expensively, and I'm therefore, like, I don't gamble. So a trip to Vegas is nothing to me if I'm not doing something outside there.
Outside the casino floor.
And so I always like to go places and kind of find that inspiration. And that's what travel writing is about. It's about me inspiring somebody else. You know?
I think that's great. And now you have to really think about products to sell. So how do you get inspired to find a new destination that you want to put together a trip for and sell it?
Well, I come to travel shows this is
yeah.
a big one. One of the ones I've been doing a lot lately to get inspired for new destinations. Does anybody have the Amazon Echo, the like Alexa? So you can download an app for it called Virtual Traveler, and then you just ask Alexa where you should go next. And you literally say, Alexa, ask Virtual Traveler where I should go next. You can even say, ask Virtual Traveler where Jody should go next, and she'll answer.
Is it based on knowing you somehow, or?
I have no idea, but she just makes these suggestions of places you've never heard of, and then she'll give like a little bit of a description and why you would want to go there. And it's been surprisingly awesome. She'll tell me these things, and I'm like, wait, what is that? And I'll go in and I'll Google it. I'm like, holy shit, this is awesome.
Who needs humans, right? How about you, Jody? How do you get inspired?
Well, I get inspired. Mine is easy because I take people to Africa. And I'd say 9 out of 10 people have a childhood thing about wanting to go to Africa, or as an adult, they've seen a movie, out of Africa. A lot of people reference. And so my job is to recreate that dream for them of what going to Africa is about, and then also putting, making it easy for them to make the travel there, but also, what is the expression I'm looking for? But, the worries around insects, diseases, safety from both humans and animals, and then, what's the comfort level and what on earth am I going to be eating? Those things are actually easy to do. So really the inspiration comes to me, and I just tap into what is it about Africa that you want to go for? Is this a thing on a list that you want to tick off? Or is this something that you've wanted to do since you were 4 years old and remember going to the zoo for the first time?
Excellent. So I get my inspiration from people like these folks right here. So I just want to thank them for their sharing their expertise and their experiences with us. And thank you guys. If you have any other questions, we have another minute or two. If not, thank you again for coming, and please see us in booth 107.